Namaste, and you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, right from the time the Afghanistan crisis had unfolded, here at CNN News 18, we have endeavored to keep you abreast of all the aspects and all the dynamics that will affect us as a country. And continuing in that effort, here the team CNN News 18, mainly our investigations editor Manoj Gupta, has gone ahead and enabled an engagement with the head of the group that perhaps is the biggest threat and concern in this entire mix of the Taliban in terms of the regional dynamics and especially the security threat for India, that Afghanistan, at the behest of the Pak establishment, would be used as a platform to wage and engage and train jihadi groups that would wage a proxy war against us. And that group is the Haqqani network. We have been able to establish contact and also speak with Anas Haqqani, a member of the Taliban and also a leader of the Haqqani network. He's a person who does not speak often. He's a person who's speaking to an Indian media channel for the first time.
ये खुदा से एक बड़ा इनाम है जो हमारे ऊपर उसने आता हमको दे दिया अता कर दिया आए हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी का दिन है हमारे आज़ादी का दिन है उस खैर मुकदम के उसके लिए हम इंशाल्लाह उससे हेल्प अपने हर मुमकिन के साथ अगर वो भारत को दूसरे और साथ हम इंशाल्लाह इन चीज़ों में हम अपने हेल्प करेंगे.
The Taliban regime in Afghanistan takes shape after the exit of the US forces. Now, after Sher Mohammad Abbas Tanakzai and Amrullah Saleh, CNN News 18 gets you another mega world exclusive. We have been able to establish contact with Anas Haqqani of the Haqqani network about the expectations from India and what India can expect from the Taliban, whether or not they would interfere in the machinations of and participate and help Pakistan in their machinations with Jammu and Kashmir, and also the stance on relations with Pakistan and the world. Listen in to this short excerpt. मेरा पहला सवाल आपसे यही है कि 20 साल बाद फिर से तालिबान अफगानिस्तान पर काबिज है. बात अब अमन की है, बात अब स्टेबिलिटी की है. आपको क्या लगता है आगे क्या होगा?
ये खुदा से एक बड़ा इनाम है जो हमारे ऊपर उसने आता हमको दे दिया अता कर दिया. हमने इस इनाम के लिए हमने इस हदफ के लिए 20 साल जद्दोजहद कोशिश कर दिया. आए हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी का दिन है, हमारे आज़ादी का दिन है, हमारे सब लोगों के लिए सब लोग इस पर बहुत खुश हैं. इंशाल्लाह और भी अच्छी और
अब ये माना जाता है कि, और भारत के नजरिए से अगर मैं आपसे ये पूछूं, तो हक्कानी नेटवर्क को पाकिस्तान और पाकिस्तानी एस्टैब्लिशमेंट खासकर आईएसआई का बहुत करीबी माना जाता है. आपके बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस ऑपरेशंस जो हैं वो पाकिस्तान में है, वजीरिस्तान में है. इस पर आप क्या कहेंगे?
एक बात मैं जानता हूँ कि जो 20 साल हक्कानी नेटवर्क के निस्बत पर जो बात कह रहा है लोग, ये अमेरिकियों और दूसरे ममालिक जो अफगानिस्तान की लड़ाई चाहता है उसका एक प्रोपागेंडा तबलीगात है. असल हकीकत में हक्कानी नेटवर्क कोई चीज भी नहीं है. इधर सारे एक इमारत इस्लामी है, हम उसके अंदर एक अमीर के अमर और क़यादत के नीचे हम काम करते हैं.
अब मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूं कि भारत के साथ हक्कानी ग्रुप का, आपका और फिर तालिबान का कैसा रुख होगा?
नहीं पहले हक्कानी नेटवर्क के नाम से कोई चीज नहीं है. इधर सब एक इमारत है और इमारत इस्लामी सारे ममालिक के साथ अच्छे से पॉजिटिव ताल्लुकात के खैरख्वाह है और पॉजिटिव और अच्छे ताल्लुकात चाह रहे हैं. और अगर वो हिंदुस्तान के दूसरे ममालिक के, उसके लिए हमारा ख्वाहिश है कि हमारे अंदर जो अपने हमारे दरमियान के मसाइल उसका हम कोई एक आदमी को, एक ममलिकत को की भी इजाजत नहीं दे सकते कि वो मुदाखला करे, उस तकलीफ करे और नेगेटिव तरीके से कोशिश करे। और हमारे फाइट इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से भी यही है। उसने जो 20 साल हमारे जो मुखालिफ गवर्नमेंट था, हमारे जो मुकाबले में खड़ा था, उसके साथ उसने सही और सिक्योरिटी और मिलिट्री साइड में बहुत उसके साथ हेल्प कर दिया, उसने चीज के मुस्तबर कर दिया। इसके बाद हम पुराने बात को हम याद नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन हमारे इरादा है कि हम सारे और सब ममालिक हिंदुस्तान शमूल सबके साथ अच्छे ताल्लुकात कर पाए।
मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूं कि हक्कानी नेटवर्क को और आपको पाकिस्तान का बहुत करीबी माना जाता है। पाकिस्तान जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में खलल कर रहा है, कश्मीर ही उसके लिए एक मुद्दा है। मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि आप के लिए क्या कश्मीर मुद्दा है? क्या आप जम्मू कश्मीर में दखल करेंगे, पाकिस्तान के प्रॉक्सी वॉर की मदद करेंगे?
कश्मीर हमारे अफगानिस्तान का जुज़ नहीं है, हमारे पॉलिसी वाले है। जब कोई चीज हमारे ममलिकत से बाहर है, हमारे पॉलिसी, हम दूसरे ममालिक मामलों में हम मुदाखला नहीं कर सकते।
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि जम्मू कश्मीर में आप दखल अंदाजी नहीं करेंगे, लश्कर, जैश ऐसे आउटफिट्स को आप पनाह नहीं देंगे, ट्रेनिंग नहीं देंगे, जगह नहीं देंगे?
नहीं, ये बात हमने बार बार हमारे जो स्पीकर है इमारत इस्लामी, हमने बार बार इसको रद्द कर दिया। ये एक प्रोपागेंडा है।
बहुत बड़ी बात कही है आपने, इस पर अमल होगा ये हमारा यकीन है। एक और बात है कि भारत का अफगानिस्तान में बहुत ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट है, बहुत सारे डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स है, कम से कम 500 डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स है, इसमें से कई सारे पेंडिंग हैं, कुछ पूरे हो चुके हैं। अगर भारत वहां आकर इन प्रोजेक्ट्स को कंप्लीट करना चाहता है तो क्या आप इसके लिए भारत की मदद करेंगे, इसकी इजाजत देंगे, ये होने देंगे?
ये आने वाले दिनों में इंशाल्लाह इसको मालूमाती हो जाए जो आज कल कौन सी पॉलिसी है, हम उसके ज्ञान से समझते जो काम मिल्लत और लोगों के लिए खैर के बिना पर किसी ममलिकत में भी किया है, हम उसको खैर मुकदम कहते हैं। उसके लिए हम इंशाल्लाह और भी हेल्प, अपने हेल्प हर ममलिकत के साथ, अगर वो भारत हो दूसरे हो साथ भी हम इंशाल्लाह इस चीजों में हम अपने हेल्प करेंगे। और जो चीज मिलिट्री या अमन, हमारे अमन को खराब नहीं कर सकते, और दूसरा अमन के तकवीत के लिए उसमें हमारे लिए कोई प्रॉब्लम भी नहीं है, हम उसके लिए उसकी खैर पाएं।
बहुत सारे भारतीय नागरिक हैं जो अफगानिस्तान में अब भी फंसे हुए हैं, बहुत सारे अफगानी मूल के सिख हैं, हिंदू हैं जो वहां हैं, जो भारत आना चाहते हैं। क्या वो सब महफूज हैं? उनकी सलामती के लिए आप कुछ करेंगे? उनको क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
आजकल एक अगर वो हमारे अंदर जो सिख है, दूसरा लोग है, कोई इस तरह लोगों की कोई तशवीश भी नहीं, इंशाल्लाह तशवीश की बात नहीं। असल जो प्रोपेगेंडा 20 साल हुआ है, इसके लिए लोगों में थोड़ा सा खौफ और डर है, लेकिन हकीकत में इस तरह नहीं है। ये हमारे जो इधर है हमारे मिलत का और हमारे अफगानिस्तान का एक जुज़ है, वो दूसरे कौमों की तरह एक कौम है इधर। हमने माजी में भी इसको साबित कर दिया, और उसके साथ हमारे कोई मुश्किल नहीं है। दूसरे कौमों के साथ जो हमारे तामुल है इंशाल्लाह उसके साथ तो इस तरह होगा। भारतीय नागरिकों की सेफ्टी पर आप क्या गारंटी देना चाहेंगे? ये हमने अपने 1-2 हफ्ते साबिका 2 हफ्ते जो थे, हम जब काबुल आए, इसमें हमने बहुत अच्छे सा जो प्रोजेक्ट से काम था हमने साबित कर लिया। हमारे जो बड़े दुश्मन थे, हमारे जो मुखालिफ लोग थे, जो मुखालिफ गवर्नमेंट में, उसने काम कर लिया। अगर मारने का बात था या उसकी कोई मुश्किल की बात था या उसकी जेल की बात था, सबसे पहले उसके लिए लाजिम था। लेकिन हमने जो हक़ का ऐलान कर दिया, हमने जो तहम्मुल से काम कर लिया। हम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मुसलमान है, हर काम इस्लामी उसूलों के मुताबिक करना चाहते हैं। दूसरे जो लोग हैं, अगर वो हर ममलिकत से या हर कौम से ताल्लुक रखता है, उसके लिए कोई तशवीश की बात नहीं है। ये जो प्रोपेगेंडा तब्दीलात हुआ है 20 साल में, लोगों के साथ इस वजह से तशवीश है, लेकिन कोई मुश्किल नहीं। इंशाल्लाह हम उसके लिए अपने इस्लामी उसूल के मुताबिक सबको लिए इंशाल्लाह हम इत्मीनान देते हैं।
ड्यूरेंट लाइन को लेकर क्या आप इसे पाकिस्तान और अफगानिस्तान के बीच की परमानेंट बॉर्डर रेखा मानते हैं, लक्ष्मण रेखा?
ये बात जो है ये भी आने वाले दिनों में मुस्तकबिल में हमारे जो आने वाले इस्लामी टूर्नामेंट है, हमारे अकाबिर है, उससे मुतालिक है, आने वाले दिनों में इंशाल्लाह जाहिर हो जाए। ये कबल वक्त उसका इजहार करना एक शख्सी राय हो सकते है और रस्मी नहीं हो सकते, इसमें बात करना कोई मुफीद नहीं।
Strategic Affairs expert Sushant Sareen with us. Sushant Sareen, they're saying the right words and the right things.
But that is what they've been saying for a very long time. And the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Look, let's face it, the Haqqani network is clearly the most notorious out of all the, various components of the Taliban. They have been responsible for attacks on Indian missions in Kabul. They have carried out bombings of the Indian mission. They have carried out kidnappings of Indians. They've carried out not just in Kabul, but attacks on Indian consulates in other Afghan cities. They have been responsible for it. So unless you're one of those who believes that, a tiger can change his stripes or a leopard can change his spots, or a wolf can shed whatever they shed, I would not take anything these guys say on face value. Look, he has denied the patronage of the ISI, which is such a load of rubbish that he's talking about. That has been documented. There are tomes written on it. There are reams, of paper and evidence of their links with the ISI. You have an eyewitness account, which is a New York Times correspondent who had been kidnapped and who had been in their captivity for I think a couple of years, if I mistake not. And after he was released, in fact, he escaped. He disclosed. He wrote a series of articles explaining what he went through, and out there he very clearly says what kind of signaling used to happen between the Pakistani security forces and the Haqqanis when they were moving around quite openly. There was checking for everybody, but there were certain signals that when the Haqqanis were traveling, there would be no checking. So there is enough evidence on how their businesses flourished, how they were allowed. For example, when Operation Zarbeas, which the Pakistanis claim that they cleaned up the terrorist nests in North Waziristan were happening, before those operations started, the Haqqanis were relocated into other parts of Pakistan tribal agencies. They were moved to Orakzai agency at that point of time. Right. So has anybody heard about the Haqqanis ever suffering from any of the Pakistani military operations? No. So for him to deny that there was no such contacts between these guys and the Pakistani ISI is a load of rubbish. So, now they are saying the right things. You can probably argue that, look, they were in a war at that point of time. Now they are moving towards peace. So there are these peace overtures. Okay, right. I'll accept that. But let us see how they operate on the ground. As of now, I don't think they have broken the apron strings or the puppet strings, if you will, of the ISI. In fact, the way they captured Kabul and moved into Kabul was a pure and simple Pakistani demand, because 2 times in the past, the Pakistanis had been denied access to Kabul. First, in 1992, when the Najibullah government fell and the Mujahideen moved into Kabul against an understanding with the Pakistanis that nobody will move into Kabul at that point of time. And then in 2001, when the Americans had assured them that the Northern Alliance will not enter Kabul, and the Northern Alliance entered Kabul. And this was the third occasion. And this time they didn't want to take any chances. So when history is written of what happened on 15th of August, you will find out how much the Pakistanis leaned upon the Haqqanis and in the process riled up many other factions and components of the Taliban when the Haqqanis moved in and took control of Kabul. So, I would say that whatever these guys say, take it with a pinch of salt.
Point taken. But tell me, how do you see things panning out? Because the inevitability is there on the wall that somewhere in the near future there is going to be an interim government or an establishment which is going to be led by the Taliban. Now, whichever faction plays what role is another dynamic altogether. Now, what happens next, and how do you see this playing out? Do you think that there are more voices and more people within the Taliban who now will be pressured into looking at Afghan interests rather than looking at what interests Pakistan? And this tussle will somewhere turn around and they will have to answer the Pashtuns. They will also have to answer this question, and the territorial dispute that the Afghans have is with Pakistanis, not with India. India has never been transactional. Pakistanis will be heavily transactional. They will want to exact a pound of flesh. How do you see the dynamics changing?
So Anand, I think one of the best questions you asked him was on Durand Line. And the fact is that he didn't give you any clear answer because very clearly, I don't see how anybody in the Taliban ranks, even if it's Haqqanis who are beholden to Pakistan, can just turn around and say that, yes, Durand Line is the official border between the two countries. So he held out on that. Before him, Zabiullah Mujahid was asked a question and he was very emphatic about the fact that they don't like the fencing which the Pakistanis are doing along the Durand Line because he said that this interferes with the movement of people, on both sides of the fence, our families, etc., tribes and all of that. So yes, this is going to be a problem. Equally, what is going to be a problem is the Pakistani overbearance and wanting to control what happens in Afghanistan. I think there will be a pushback on that. But we'll have to see whether whatever dispensation comes into Afghanistan now, we know it will be a Taliban dispensation, but how they conduct their, conduct themselves, how they manage their affairs, whether they manage it in the interest of Afghanistan, or they are so beholden to Pakistan that they give in to all the demands of the Pakistanis. I think we'll have to wait and see. We'll also have to wait and see of how the various pulls and pressures within the movement actually play themselves out. But the most important thing from India's point of view is that for now, look, the money which we had to spend in Afghanistan, we have spent. We were not going to get any return from that anyways. If the Taliban or the Afghans want to destroy those projects, just too bad. It's no skin off our nose in many ways. Our primary interest right now is to get our people out. If we can get them out, then we have to decide what is our interest in Afghanistan. We have a larger strategic interest, but that strategic interest is not necessarily served by only engaging with the Taliban or whoever is in Afghanistan. That interest can be achieved in other ways as well. Other than that, I think we need to be very, very cold-hearted and very calculating as to what exactly our interest is in Afghanistan. This whole concept that India will get isolated in Afghanistan, that's again a load of rubbish. You don't get isolated if you're not in a country which produces nothing, which sells nothing, which only has a destabilizing effect. And it's just a 30 million, 35 million strong country, while you are a 1.3 billion economy, which is likely to be the third or the fourth largest economy by the end of the decade. You don't get isolated. So I would really want to challenge anybody who says that we must engage with the Taliban, otherwise heavens are going to fall.
The idea is that we have to then, the strength of our economy, the depth of our, and the width of our population, and perhaps the depth of our abilities, we must try and show to the people, and our concern is the people of Afghanistan. The other aspect is, in terms of humanitarian aid, the only country in this region who can give them humanitarian aid is us. Food grains is us. any form of non-monetary aid which the people actually need is going to come from India. So somewhere the Taliban running a guerrilla outfit and trying to target certain establishment and fighting a war is different. Running a country, administrating a country is different, and their priorities have to be the people, because they are saying we have done it for the people. So then these are aspects which India will have to play up. And here Pakistan can't do anything. They themselves, they need a prime minister to control the price of roti and naan in their country. What are they going to give the Afghans?
No. Look, in Pakistan, they are having to import wheat and sugar. They are not self-sufficient in even the basic agricultural goods now. They have to import cotton, they have to import wheat, they have to import sugar. Food imports are one of the largest imports in Pakistan. So how are they going to provision for the Afghans? And people very often forget how much of wheat and how much of other foodstuffs were going from India to Afghanistan in the past. The Pakistanis always used to obstruct it, which is why we had the alternate route through Iran made. Now, clearly, yes, if the Taliban, live up to all the pledges they have made, if they don't dabble in any kind of terrorism, if they do not patronize any terrorist group, but see, as of now, we are seeing all of that happen. We saw scenes of an Al-Qaeda bodyguard of Osama bin Laden, who was ostensibly or at least allegedly in the safe company of the Haqqani network, come in with his Lao and Lashkar into Afghanistan yesterday. We saw scenes of that, right? And these are not guys who are traveling in incognito. These are guys who are traveling in Land Cruisers. Damn it, you don't see as many Land Cruisers in Delhi, which is a very rich place, as you see in Afghanistan right now. So where are these guys coming from out of the woodwork? All of these guys were in Pakistan. What happens to all those links? Will the Taliban sever those links, or will they keep those links as leverages against other countries? I don't think it will be acceptable to anybody if we see terrorists from India getting patronized in Afghanistan, getting safe havens in Afghanistan. I think that's a deal breaker. We will not be able to deal with Afghanistan if they toe the Pakistani line. That is a deal breaker. If those things don't happen and the Taliban at least maintain a modicum of civilized behavior with their own people, then yes, certainly, I don't see any reason why we then cannot consider engaging with them, recognizing them, dealing with them, and perhaps even becoming friends with them.
That is a long shot, but the fact of the matter is right now the people of Afghanistan are the concern, and whichever government or whichever group is currently in charge of running the country and administering and looking after the welfare of the country, we have to engage with that particular group. Whether we want to recognize it, whether they are palatable lot, whether we accept them or agree with them, that's a different question. But nation to nation, people to people, these are concerns which will be there. 70%, 75% of the Afghan population today is below poverty line. They are getting into an administrative crisis. There's no money in the banks because circulation is not happening. And it's going to trigger a huge humanitarian crisis, and India will have to play a role for the people of Afghanistan. Now the Taliban have to realize, and perhaps they are also realizing, that trying to take over a particular country, running it, is a different charge this altogether. And in 20 years, a lot of things, dynamics have also changed. Sushant Sareen, I have paucity of time. Always a pleasure speaking with you. We will continue to engage in the coming days. Thank you very, very much. Shifting focus to politics closer home, where Punjab Congress in charge, Harish Rawat, has sparked a fresh controversy with his Panj Pyare remark. The term Panj Pyare refers to the 5 renowned men from the history of Sikhism. Harish Rawat made the comment comparing them with Punjab Congress chief Navjot Singh Sidhu and his 4 working presidents. However, soon after receiving flack for his comment, Harish Rawat apologized, and then he further said that he would clean a Gurudwara with a broom in Uttarakhand as atonement.
क्योंकि ये एक संवैधानिक प्रश्न है, इसमें राज्य सरकार की क्या सीमा है और संविधान क्या कहता है, वो सब कुछ देखना पड़ेगा। मगर फिर भी माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने मुझे बताया है कि वो और उनकी गवर्नमेंट पहले भी प्रोएक्टिव रहे हैं और उन्होंने 3 कानूनी पास करवाए, बल्कि उन कानूनों को लेकर के यथासंभव राजनीतिक दबाव भी बनाया। और ये भी एक तथ्य है कि देश भर में जितनी भी सरकारें आई हैं, उन सरकारों ने पंजाब के कानूनों को बनाए हुए, विधानसभा द्वारा पारित कानूनों को आधार बना करके जो है आपने वहाँ भी कानून बनाए हैं, जिससे किसानों के पक्ष में देश दिखाई दे, वातावरण दिखाई दे। गवर्नर बैठे रह गए, उनके आकाओं ने।
Well, let's listen into what Harish Rawat said on the Panj Pyare. That was a remark. Last week, he was saying that Captain Amrinder Singh is the choice. Today, this week, he's now turned, the tone shifted and then also waded into a controversy which is only further going to stir the pot for him.
करके भी कुछ कमेटियाँ आदि बन रही हैं, तो मेरा दायित्व था कि मैं ऑनरेबल पीसीसी प्रेसिडेंट से और उनकी टीम और हमारे पंज प्यारे हैं जो 5 लोग, तो उनसे कोई राय परामर्श करूँ। और सिद्धू साहब ने, मैं बड़ा आभारी हूँ, उन्होंने कहा है कि अगले 15 दिन में ये करीब सारी प्रोसेस को गियर अप कर देंगे और सब प्रारंभ करेंगे, जिसमें संगठन के ढांचे को, बाकी तो पीसीसी अपने तरीके से काम कर ही रहे हैं। मैंने तो एक सम्मानजनक उद्बोधन समझकर वो शब्द कहा था, फिर भी मेरी बात से किसी का दिल दुखा हो, किसी का भी दिल दुखा हो, तो मैं क्षमा मांगता हूँ। मैंने अपने शब्द वापस लिए और मैं प्रायश्चित स्वरूप अपने राज्य के किसी गुरुद्वारे में झाड़ू लगा करके प्रायश्चित भी करूंगा।
Pallavi Ghosh, our senior editor politics, with us. Pallavi, Harish Rawat further hurting his own cause by those comments which were now, then he had to retract.
Yes, and in the Sikh religion, the Panj Pyares hold a very special place. They were actually those 5 disciples who were handpicked by Guru Gobind Singh, and they were the ones who were first baptized into the Khalsa sect. So in that context, Harish Rawat's comments will certainly be blasphemous for many who believe in the Sikh religion, and that's the reason why he had to retract. The fact that he's a Punjab state in charge, Punjab is going for elections, his comments certainly did not go down well at all, which is why he had hurriedly apologized, and not only that, he actually talks about doing penance on this issue.
Well, thank you for your inputs on that, Pallavi, because we'll stay with Punjab. There is more that's brewing, where amid the already ongoing infighting within the Punjab Congress unit, a fresh row seems to be erupting between Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh and Congress MP Rahul Gandhi over the renovations of the Jallianwala Bagh Smarak. While Rahul Gandhi has called the Smarak beautification an insult to the martyrs of the 1919 tragedy, Captain Amrinder Singh has appreciated it. He's actually the chair of the committee that oversaw the renovations.
जो रेनोवेशन किया है वहाँ पे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने पूरा वहाँ से मिटा दिया है। कहाँ से? जो रेनोवेट किया है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने ट्वीट किया।
Well, I only can tell you that from the I don't know what has been removed, लेकिन जो मैंने देखा है उस रात को जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर मैं भी उस रात को बोला था, it looked very nice. 100 years, 102 years have passed. 102 years में कहीं टेढ़े आ जाती हैं, कुछ हो जाते हैं, तो it looks very nice. But I don't know what tweets are.
Pallavi Ghosh still with us. Pallavi, so now this is a straight contradiction between what Rahul Gandhi tried to say and claimed, and Captain Amrinder Singh, he says, I was personally present there, I've seen the Smarak, and he's also the chair of that committee.
No surprises for those who actually know the kind of equation the two of them share. And in private, Rahul Gandhi has often been told, even by Navjot Singh Sidhu, and Rahul Gandhi himself admits that Captain often takes a stand which is contrary to what he has taken or against the party line. But Captain's I think makes it very, very clear that clearly all is not well. There is a schism between the Gandhi family and Captain Amrinder Singh, which perhaps explains, Anand, why the known beta of Captain Amrinder Singh, Navjot Singh Sidhu, was actually handpicked by the Gandhis siblings to become the PCC chief of Punjab. So I think this is one very glaring example of the differences between the two of them. And these differences are likely to come out more in the open, become more brazen as we inch closer to the state polls in February 2022.
Well, thank you for your inputs, Pallavi. Short break here on The Nation at 5. Stay with us.